Can you really believe that the president will feed sana mamatay na yung mga komunista among the trolls?
Probably needs to have psychiatric evaluation.
Ang mahirap kasi dito sa human rights activist, palibhas.
Magandang umaga po mga kaibigan. Tayo po ay nasa isang edisyon na naman ng ating Tapatan sa Aristocrat. Pag-uusapan natin ang impeachment laban kay Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno. Mahalaga po ito sapagkat noong nakalipas na Huwebes ay naging panauhin. Was it Thursday or Friday? Naging guest ng FOCAP si Chief Justice Sereno sa MAX sa Quezon City. At napag-usapan yung kanyang panig sa larangan ng impeachment. Pero we'd like to find out from the House of Representatives represented by the Deputy Speaker, Fred Castro, kung ano ang sitwasyon sa House of Representatives at kung anong magaganap. We're also joined by Professor Danilo Arao of the UP College of Mass Comm. At ang tanong naman sa kanya ano ba ang nagaganap sa media? How does the Philippine media covered the events? We're also expecting Professor Loretta and Rosales, a former lawmaker and chairperson of the Commission on Human Rights, nakarating sa Lido, sa Mindanao, pero she's now traveling to Aristocrat. Okay? And then, the man of the hour is named Atty. Larry Gadon, na kanina ay nandun sa flag racing sa Supreme Court. At magtutungo na sa DOJ to file a case against certain Supreme Court officials. So after filing, makakarating siya rito, hopefully, at hindi mata-traffic at hindi ma-hijack. But today, we'd like to listen, at this time, we'd like to listen to the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives. Ano po ang naganap at ano ang magaganap pa sa House of Representatives as far as the impeachment of the Chief Justice is concerned? Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Magandang umaga po sa lahat na nandito ngayon. At tapos na po ang butuhan kung i-impeach si Chief Justice Sereno o hindi. At ang kinalabasan ng butuhan sa House of Representatives ay 38 kasapi ng House Committee on Justice at ex officio officials ang bumoto na i-impeach at i-elevate o ipadala sa Senado for trial ang impeachment complaint o kaya naman ang articles of impeachment laban kay Chief Justice Sereno at dalawa lamang po ang hindi ang tumutol dito. Kaya ngayon ang next na mangyayari po ay itong linggong ito ay ihahanda na yung articles of impeachment. At ito ay gagawin ng mga kasapi ng mababang kapulungan na kasapi rin ng House Committee on Justice o kaya naman ay may kasamang ex officio officials ng House of Representatives na balangkasin na ang articles of impeachment upang ito ay maipadala na sa plenaryo. At sa plenaryo naman, ito ay i-sponsoran ng House Committee Chairman ng House Committee on Justice at kung sino pa man ang maaring mag-volunteer o magpaabot ng kanyang kagustuhan na mag-sponsor ng panukalang articles of impeachment at ito ay pagdidibatihan sa plenaryo kung ito ay legal na aayon sa panuntunan ng House of Representatives on impeachment at kung ito ay manalo sa butuhan, automatic na ipadadala na ito sa Senado para sa trial. In the process na pinag-uusapan ito o pinagdidibatihan ito sa plenaryo, pipili naman ang House of Representatives through the House Committee on Justice ng mga prosecutors. At dalawang klase ang prosecutors dito. there is what we call public prosecutors na ang kasapi ay mga members ng House of Representatives at saka meron ding private prosecution. Yung private prosecution naman, yun ay mga pribadong mga abogado na maaring magboluntaryo o kunin ng House of Representatives na tumulong sa pag-prosecute ng articles of impeachment sa Senado.
Opo. Ang isa sa mga nabanggit ni Chief Justice Sereno sa kanyang pagharap sa FOCAP ay ganito. Bakit kailangan pang gumawa yung Vice Chairman ng articles of impeachment? Ang sinasabi niya kasi, let's get it on. Padala niyo na kagad sa Senado. Dapat meron na kayong articles of impeachment. Bakit po kaya natagalan?
Kung ang katanungan ay bakit tumagal, alam mo, hindi naman yan lang ang ginagawa namin sa House of Representatives. No? Kung hindi ligid sa inyong kaalaman na napakaraming batas na panukalang batas na nakabinbin, napakaraming investigation na ginagawa ngayon sa House of Representatives, at kung ano pang ibang bagay na may relasyon sa aming tungkulin bilang members ng House of Representatives. Kung ganun man, ang mga katagang lumabas sa bibig ni Chief Justice Sereno bilang isang babae ay siguro hindi na pinapatulan niya ng lalaki. No? Dahil natural naman sa mga kababaihan ng medyo kung minsan ay nagpapalabas ng mga salita na hindi naman kailangan.
Okay. Thank you. Let's leave it at that. Professor, how has the media covered the unfolding events as far as the impeachment is concerned? Coming from the academia, you have an objective point of view.
Siyempre meron namang pagsasakonteksto na ginawa yung media at kapuri-puri naman yung coverage na ginawa kasi up-to-date tsaka timely yung mga pagsusuri sa mga issue. Ang kailangan lang sigurong busisiin sa puntong to, siguro yung batayang tanong, gaya ng sinabi mo, ano yung pagkaibahan ng Sereno impeachment trial process doon sa Corona impeachment trial process. Kasi tama ka, nung panahon nung namayapa ng si Chief Justice Renato Corona, hindi na to dumaan sa House Committee on Justice hearing. Nakuha na yung sapat na bilang ng mga pirma ng mga kongresista, kaya mula roon ay inakyat na diretsyo sa Senado. Kaya masasabi natin mas mabilis yung proseso. But from what I understand, I think perhaps the current Deputy Speaker can correct me if I'm wrong. Based on what House Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez said, mas gusto niya preparado yung House of Representatives, kaya talagang dumaan sa process at sinigurado na mas detalyado at may pangunang investigasyon na ginawa hinggil dun sa articles of impeachment, which I think is necessary to be contextualized by the media because we have to compare the quality of the impeachment complaint of the Corona impeachment trial na sa tingin ng mga kongresista noon hindi na kailangang busisiin pa at investigahan kumpara dun sa complaint ni Atty. Larry Gadon. I hope he'll be here later on kasi nakita natin yung ilang weaknesses, especially on the fundamental issue of direct knowledge on the impeachment trial. Parang sinabi lang niya, kasi may mga nagsasabi na hearsay lang at may nagsasabi na wala naman siyang direct hand or direct knowledge at in fact, yung sa usapin ng kinita niya halimbawa sa Piatco, we're referring to Chief Justice Sereno, parang ang ginamit na termino, mental computation of 37 million, kaya mabilis na nabasag yung argumento na Sereno claims that she earned only 30 million. So those little things would have to be really contextualized properly. And the challenge for media is to repeat the facts over and over, especially in the context of fake news, where sometimes lies repeated over and over becomes the truth. In our particular case, ang challenge talaga sa atin, yung pagsasakonteksto, dapat araw-arawin po natin, siguraduhin natin na naiintindihan ng masa.
Okay, Professor, how would you know if such a report is a spin?
Okay, that's a good question. Kapag ka masyadong kasi we shouldn't focus more on the overly dramatic. Kasi ganito ayokong patungkulan yung isang news media organization, but prior to International Women's Day, parang na-discuss yung love life ni Chief Justice Sereno, which I think isn't absolutely necessary in terms of shaping public opinion. What does it do? At most, it only humanizes Chief Justice Sereno. Paki-silent lang po yung phone para magkaintindihan tayo. Anyway, it only humanizes the Chief Justice. But in terms of spin, obvious na parang you're trying to get sympathy votes for the Chief Justice, which, just to be fair, we don't know if the Chief Justice is really involved in that particular spin. Pero yun yung sanang iniiwasan natin Kasi the unnecessary spin. And the unnecessary reference to, pardon me, Deputy Speaker, pero yung reference to Chief Justice as a woman, okay naman yung spin na she is the first ever Chief Justice, not just in the Philippines, but in the whole Southeast Asian. Paki-silent lang po, pakiusap lang.
Pakisuyo lang po. Pwede nating iwan sa concierge yung cellphone.
Ayun. Anyway.
Kilitiin na lang kayo kung may tawag.
Sige. Pasensya na po. But the point here is, she is definitely the Chief Justice. The first female Chief Justice in Southeast Asia, not just in the Philippines, but in the whole Southeast Asia. Pero to make reference to Chief Justice's remarks as, one of the frailties of a woman, tingin ko that only promotes, sexism and patriarchy and machismo in the Philippine society right now. And ayun, siguro sa media, we should try our best to avoid that kind of angling or spin.
Yeah. One of the guests we tried to invite dito, kaya lang he declined, si Attorney Rico Quicho, who was the lawyer of then Chief Justice Renato Corona. So we can have a comparison of sorts. However, whether we like it or not, it will appear, Deputy Speaker Fred Castro, that every impeachment would be a political act. Ano po ang inyong pananaw dito?
Tama yung obserbasyon na yan, Melo, na ang impeachment proceeding ay a political act. While we may view it na tinatawag ng Supreme Court na sui generis itong impeachment proceeding, dahil hindi naman kriminal, hindi rin civil, hindi rin administrative, it is a kind of itself. No? Itong impeachment proceeding ay nababaliwala ang ibang konsiderasyon sa paghusga o paghatol on whether or not may kasalanan ang isang tao o wala. Dahil dito, una, ang numero ang importante. Pangalawa, yung rule on evidence ay nababaliwala. Kung ano man yung hearsay na mga ebidensya, for example, ay kung minsan binibigyan ng probative value which under the ordinary rules on evidence ay hindi ginagawa. Kaya, yung sinasabi na political, it's really political solution. It is an exercise of a political process which is sanctioned by the Constitution. You cannot fault these people not to be political whenever there is an impeachment because the procedure or the remedy is itself political.
Okay, very well. Would you care to react?
Which brings us to the next important point about media coverage because since, as correctly noted by Deputy Speaker, it is more of a political process rather than legal, it may be necessary for media not to go too much into legalese or the legal language. For example, what is meant by a quo warranto, petition, kung ano man yun. We need to define these terms properly and the political process would have to be clearly explained. Perhaps that would explain also why the Gadon impeachment complaint was taken seriously even if there was no, allegedly, direct hand or direct knowledge on the matter. So, yung ganito mga usapin, yung dapat nating angguluhan talaga sa usapin ng impeachment trial, mainly as a political process. We cannot, as journalists, we really cannot pretend to be lawyers. Even if we are lawyers and journalists at the same time, the challenge is really to define the terms in a manner that is understandable to a larger audience.
One of the questions I asked the Chief Justice on indefinite leave last week was this. Would the President have anything against you? Or is it possible that your statements previously did not sit well with the President? And the Chief Justice on indefinite leave said, well, my stand on martial law in Mindanao last year probably was something the President felt bad with. No? So, do you think merong ganong angulo? Ano po, Deputy Speaker?
Well, I think although the issue posed by that question is material, but for purposes of impeachment, this issue is no longer necessary. Whether your relationship with the President is cordial or not, it's not important. But the fact is, there is now a ground that could serve as basis to impeach Chief Justice Sereno. Therefore, whatever relationship or discordant relationship she has with the President is no longer a consideration that will have to be looked upon during the impeachment proceeding or even in the trial of the impeachment proceeding. That's outside the point. The fact is, along the way, grounds to impeach her surfaced, discovered, and discussed in the House Committee on Justice. Therefore, these are the only issues now that will have to be tackled in the impeachment proceeding in the Senate.
Does the political affiliation of lawmakers, let's say in the House of Representatives and the Senate, be a factor to the whatever decision there'd be, without necessarily putting the cart before the horse?
Well, the remedy or the process being political itself, it is almost impossible to disassociate politics from impeachment proceeding being a political process. That's why I said a while ago that the rule on evidence is not even applied. Because if you are going to apply the rule on evidence strictly, it would be very, very contentious proceeding. Because as we observe, there are matters that are hearsay. But why is it that notwithstanding that these are hearsay evidence, they were even discussed, they were even considered in the discussion or even in the reception or appreciation of evidence, which in the first place, under the rule on evidence, outright, they should be dismissed as being inadmissible.
Okay, so this is more interesting. Masaya to. Yes, Professor.
Yeah. When you look at discordant relationship, it's not just confined to the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. If we would remember, there was an attempt to unseat also, or to impeach rather, COMELEC Chair Andres Bautista until he resigned, right? And then there was even a call, a public statement coming from the President stating that Ombudsman Conchitina Carpio Morales should resign also. I think that was October last year. At any rate, so that kind of discordant relationship would have to be also carefully analyzed. Of course, we're not saying that this is automatically an attack on our democratic institutions, but there are statements to that effect. And that partly explains why sometimes the executive branch cannot separate itself from the process that's happening in the House of Representatives right now. Of course, we understand that the executive and the legislative are co-equal branches, but sometimes the public perception regarding the hand of Malacanang in it would have to be carefully analyzed, especially considering when the ruling party is also the party affiliation of the current president.
Yes. But have you not considered the past impeachment proceedings that the same fellows who approved the impeachment, no,
Yeah.
are members of a different party now,
Yeah.
not identified with the person in power?
Yeah, it's a game of musical chairs, if you would say so. And that's, one of the realities of politics. And even without Deputy Speaker using the term, it all boils down really to a numbers game. It's really a choice of politicians affiliating with where they are and then eventually voting based on their party affiliations. But we should hasten to add that there are certain individuals in the Senate before, during the Corona impeachment trial, that crossed party lines. If I remember correctly, Senator Bong Revilla voted to impeach, even if he was affiliated at that time with.
No, we're not even sure of his
Okay.
party affiliation.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yun ang problema ron.
at any rate, there were certain.
Only 3 voted not to impeach.
Yeah, only 3.
Bongbong,
Miriam.
and was it Joker?
Yeah,
Arroyo?
okay. So all the rest, you were expecting more not to vote, even if the majority was there. But what we're saying here is, in the Senate, there could be some dynamics, but it will all be a numbers game, in my opinion, at least.
Very well. Deputy Speaker, some people think that with the impeachment against the Chief Justice and the statements mentioned by the President last October on, the Ombudsman, and the call for Andy Bautista to resign, all this would probably lead to a constitutional crisis. How do you look at it?
I do not think so, that there could be a constitutional crisis arising from this exercise. Because in the first place, like for example, in the case of Chief Justice Sereno, it is not the Supreme Court as an institution that is being impeached. It is only member or the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court who is being impeached. The culpability ascribed to the Chief Justice is not the culpability of that serve as basis of the impeachment, is not the culpability of the Supreme Court as an institution. Therefore, I cannot conceive of any justification why I should conclude that it could give rise to a constitutional crisis, because in the first place, the Supreme Court is functioning even now that the Chief Justice is on leave. The Supreme Court continues to perform its function. And second, I do not see of a possibility having a constitutional crisis, because this process of impeachment is a constitutional process, meaning the House of Representatives is acting on the basis of the Constitution. And therefore, how could you fault Congress in an impeachment proceeding
Doing its job.
for doing its mandate under the Constitution?
Okay. But, Deputy Speaker, there is this thing, sabi nila, pag sinibak mo yung ulo, wala nang problema yung mga galamay. Ang sabi kasi nung ilang mga pilyo ay ganito. Hindi naman lahat ng mga maestrado santo eh. Kung yung Chief Justice nga nilaglag mo, matatakot yung mga underlings who may have skeletons in the closet, na takot din silang mabunyag dahil after all these years, sabi nung ilan, I don't know, hindi naman siguro totoo, na meron din mga justices, practicing justices or justices for sale. Kaya pag nagkataon ika, magiging pro-Duterte na yung Supreme Court. Yun ang sabi nung ilan, which I don't subscribe to anyway. Maybe just have your thoughts about it.
Filing of an impeachment complaint is not exclusive to any member of the House of Representatives. The power of initiating an impeachment complaint, of course, belongs to the House of Representatives under the Constitution. But not only a member of the House of Representatives can file an impeachment proceeding. Therefore, any justice or justices who are keeping skeleton in the closet should be forewarned that not only members of the House of Representatives can file or initiate impeachment proceeding. Therefore, the message is that this proceeding is a call to everybody. Therefore, they should not be cowed by President Duterte, because it is not only President Duterte who can initiate that. Everybody or any citizen of the country can file a complaint for impeachment against any justice or justices of the Supreme Court.
But it's been said that President Duterte is in such a situation that before his term ends, he would have appointed at least 10 Supreme Court justices.
Well, I think that is highly speculative. Highly speculative in the sense that personally, I do not see of anything that would verify the truth of that claim or allegation. But nonetheless, whether or not they would be, everybody or the majority of them in the Supreme Court would be pro-Duterte. Huh? That is a matter of judgment that is left to the members of the Supreme Court.
Because whether we like it or not, justices will have to retire upon reaching the age of 70. And considering that most of the justices are retirable, then chances are the president will do his job in appointing the next justices.
But they should be very careful, because this process of impeachment now has become a vicious cycle. What is happening in the Corona is now happening in the Sereno. And if you become an obnoxious justice or nefarious justice because you are beholden to someone in Malacanang, then it's not far that when there is a change of administration, you will suffer the same.
So there's a very strong possibility, Deputy Speaker, that there is no judicial independence anymore because of the threat of the Damocles sword.
That is only a tendency, or that is only a probability. But we should not always be prejudiced by probability. We should judge situations on case-to-case basis as they arise.
Very well. From a media man's point of view, media men usually think with some sinister backgrounds. Eh?
Yeah. And there's nothing sinister about this statement, rest assured. But at any rate, yun na nga. But based on what Deputy Speaker Castro said, we can look at it as somewhat sending a chilling effect on the other justices, that if you toe the line, this is what's going to happen to you. You'll end up like Chief Justice Sereno. But of course, there's reason to also side with Deputy Speaker Castro when he said that if you have skeletons in your closet, then you really have to worry about it. But if we look at the circumstances between the Corona trial and the impending Sereno trial, sometimes we wonder, for example, during the time of Corona, there was not much uproar among his colleagues or even among Supreme Court employees that he should take a leave of absence or that he should go while the impeachment trial is ongoing. And in fact, there were rallies in support of Corona. Okay, but now it's a bit different. Today is Red Monday, if I understand it. If you were red, it means that, and you're a Supreme Court judge or you're an employee of that particular judiciary branch, then it is therefore in support of Sereno going on leave. But if you're going to wear purple, it means that you will stand for judicial independence. So aside from a numbers game, it has become also a colors game. And it's quite interesting in communication because we have this what we call semiotic analysis, where you appropriate certain symbols to mean something. And right now, red means not a symbol of activism anymore, at least as far as the courts are concerned, but rather a symbol of going against the current Supreme Court justice. So part of the challenge for media would be to analyze who is really behind such movements, because appropriating the color red and appropriating the color purple to stand for, two different things. It's the work not just of, certain individuals, but it's a group. And
Would
it's
you
something
say
worth
a group of
investigating.
creatives have been utilized for this?
Those who are using their creative imagination, perhaps. But at any rate, we have to really dig deeper into it. And I look forward, for example, to the statement that will be issued, I understand, by the Employees Association, calling on Chief Justice Sereno to resign, because it's something worth analyzing, and then by then we would know who are the people behind these maneuverings.
Yeah, I was told the Supreme Court Administrator Midas Marquez, who's also a friend, has a hand in this. When he allegedly convinced the employees to come up during this morning's flag ceremony. I haven't talked to him anyway. Yes, sir.
Melo, I just want to add something. No? We should not forget that judgment here is not exclusive on the part of the Senate and on the part of the members of the House. We should also consider that the public in general is called upon to make its own judgment. While it is true that people cannot make a judgment that would in effect remove or impeach Chief Justice Sereno, but people's judgment could be in history. Therefore, there are two judgments that we should expect here. The public judgment in general and the judgment of the Senate.
How will that sit with you, Professor Arao? Because it's been said that Filipinos have a very short memory span and that every headline today will be forgotten in 2 weeks' time.
Okay, that's a good point. That's why the challenge for media would be to keep on tackling the burning issues of the day. We might blame that kind of, short news cycle of burning issues to the tendency toward infotainment and escapism, especially on the part of the dominant media, because we tend to be more focused on the entertainment side, even of the more serious issues of the day. For example, with regard to the impeachment trial, we focus more on personalities. We focus more on, for example, during the impeachment trial of Corona, it's the tale of the tape. Who are the lawyers defending Corona? Who are the lawyers prosecuting him? And in fact, we even went to the extent of reducing as eye candy the spokespersons for or against Corona. And that's not good insofar as journalism is concerned, because we only look at the politics of good looks. Alam naman natin, may mga politiko o may mga abogado na magaganda at gwapo, pero hindi na kailangang idiin yun ng media. Ang mas dapat diinan natin yung substance ng mga sinasabi nila, regardless of whether or not they're good looking. Because we have to go beyond that kind of personality-based reporting.
Yeah. Yung pagbanggit na babae, ano kaya ang dating nun?
Well, it's like this. When you refer to someone as a woman, it has to be put in proper context. Making a reference to Sereno as the first female Supreme Court Chief Justice of the Supreme Court in Southeast Asia is, I think, a validation of how far women have gone insofar as the judiciary is concerned. That's good. But to refer to her as a woman who may be fickle-minded or who may be emotional, and to ascribe the language that she's speaking on the basis of her gender, that would be, I think, irresponsible for media to do. Even if, I have to admit, there are some politicians who would tend to go that line. But in cases of that, the journalists have two options. It's either you ignore the statements made by some sexist politicians, and number two, you can use the statements, but you have to put it in context in terms of the patriarchal society that we're living in right now.
Yeah, one of the questions I asked the Chief Justice on indefinite leave last week was something like this. Why is it that there are people inside the Supreme Court who seem not to like you, and it appears that you're suffering from an unwanted stepmother syndrome? Unwanted na, stepmother pa.
You use those words, no?
I use those.
Okay. Well, anyway, that kind of observation is valid, yung unwanted stepmother syndrome, because if you would notice, I won't mention the specific news media organization, but her quarrel with another female justice was titled as a cat fight, was described as a cat fight by a leading news media organization. I won't mention that it's the Philippine Daily Inquirer. But nevertheless, that
you did
part...
mention nga pala,
Okay,
oo nga pala,
yeah,
oo.
okay. I'm sorry if I cannot mention that paper. But at any rate, no, but to be fair to the Inquirer, it was quick to make the correction online. Pero syempre sa print hindi na pwede. Now what is wrong with using the word cat fight? It's very simple. When you look at the dictionary, the cat fight refers to a quarrel between two women. Pero pag nag-away ang dalawang lalaking senador, when two male senators fight, do you call that a dog fight or a cat fight or what? It's just simply a quarrel, right? It's just simply a word war. Okay? So parang may ganong nuances sa media na dapat iwasan natin. And when we refer to someone, a woman, it's not part of reportage. As a nagger, for example, you're reducing the argument into just simply, blabbermouths, right? So when a person nags, usually you refer to that person usually as a woman. Walang nagger na lalaki. Usually, I'm not saying that it's always the case. Babae siya. So that's why we have to be careful with the words we use, like naggers, catfights, etc.
Okay. Deputy Speaker, about the unwanted stepmother syndrome, how do you look at it?
Well, a statement like those is not really abhorrent, no? It's not really objectionable. Because there are statements that are used to describe a situation or to deliver a situation. It's not because that you will have to take it on the basis of face value. But if those statements are being used to be descriptive about it, no? to describe a situation or to draw in the mind of the listener or the reader a situation that could only be described more and better in mentioning what is normally perceived as objectionable, then I think there is nothing wrong with it.
Pero ang explanation niya ganito. Sabi niya, I may sound an unwanted stepmother at this time, but when things clear, they will begin to love me. Parang ganon. Dahil ang sabi niya, natural na hindi kami nagkakaunawaan ngayon, pero in due time, pagdating nitong usapin sa Senado, I'll be able to clear myself.
Yeah, but what proves to be a bit problematic there is when you look at how Corona was projected by the media, it's not as if he was seen as something like a stepfather or a loving father to the Supreme Court. He was just simply there as an embattled Supreme Court justice, Chief Justice at that particular time. So parang walang parenting angle na ginagawa noon. But with Sereno, it's a bit different because probably due to her gender, so the motherly role takes on something else. And that's how she is seen. So parang medyo, I'm not saying that you're wrong in using the term, but sometimes there is a need to remove the domesticity that characterizes women right now. Kasi pagka stepmother, parang it refers to your role in the household. We're not talking of household management here. We're talking of her leading the judicial branch of the government. So that's where the domesticity should be taken out of the equation, I think. In my opinion, at least.
Of course, nabanggit din niya na, alam mo, Melo, sabi niya, meron mga stepmother na mas maganda nagagawa kaysa original na mother. Yun ang pagkakasabi niya. We'd like to open the floor to our colleagues from the media who may have questions. Aya and Pat and everybody. Yes, please. Pakilapit lang po sa mikropono.
Hindi kalokohan to. Para kay sir, Deputy Speaker, sir. Pat Santos, Daily Tribune, sir. Yung nangyaring corona in Sereno case, sir, makikita natin yung political party natin mahina. Kung saan yung administrasyon, nandun doon lahat. So, whims and caprices ng present administration, di ba? Secret, silently talaga nasusunod eh. Hindi naman talaga aamin lahat na dadala. Now that we see yung defect na yun, sir, in a process where the President of Republic appoints that's Chief Supreme Court Justice, would you consider, sir, as a lawmaker, enacting a law na baguhin yun, kung baga, irespeto natin yung succession through yung age, yung retirement. Yung susunod, para, ano sila, secure,
Okay.
protektado sila ng mga ganyang,
So they should be
sitwasyon.
insulated from
Oh,
politics.
mga ganun, Sa tingin niyo, sir?
I think that is a good observation. Ano? In fact, even the appointment of justices in the Supreme Court, that could also be a valid observation. But we should not be looking at this observation in retail basis. No? It should be holistic. What do I mean? I understand and I believe that if we reform our political system or political party system, it will improve our politics in the Philippines. Is your you do not vote for a certain candidate, but you vote for the political party. And the political party shall be responsible to the people. The political party shall be responsible for everything. Hindi na individual.
Hindi nga, kasi sir, sa tingin natin ngayon, umiral sitwasyon, mahina. Kung saan, lipatan ng lipatan eh. So, yun ang nangyayari. Pag gusto ng sitting president, miskin dating dilaw, dito na ngayon sa kabila, titira yun dahil para pagbigyan yung hari.
I said that observation is valid, but we can cure that defect.
Pero sir, yung impeachment, kung talagang yung susunod na successor, may mali, tuloy pa rin yun. Ando doon pa rin sir yung ano. Pero yung kunyari, yung succession sir, by seniority.
Tapos yung pangalawa, palpak din.
Hindi kung mali yun, pwedeng impeach yung pumalit. Susunod din, pwedeng. Pero yung ano lang sir, hindi yung ina-appoint, parang parang cabinet secretary na ngayon lumalabas ng
Pero sa Supreme Court naman, iba naman no? Although the
JBC
principle of seniority has already been abolished.
Pero pinipili sir ng
Yeah.
presidente. Dahil pag na pinipili, parang associated o identified siya sa presidente na pag nawala na yun, yari yun.
Kaya nga, yun ang sinabi ko kanina that it has become a vicious cycle. No? Na kung sino man yung pumalit at magkalaban yung dating administrasyon at yung kasalukuyang administrasyon, parang ganun na ang nangyayari.
So, do you think there will come a time when the judiciary will be insulated from petty partisan politics, if you may call it that way?
I think so. Because the society is becoming more mature. Perhaps at the time that the society and our government has attained full maturity, that's the time that we will experience a judiciary which is completely and entirely different from what we have now.
Do you share the same optimism?
Well, as far as maturity is concerned, it remains to be seen whether or not we will have that. Kasi, ayun, just as an example, during the time of Cory Aquino in the 1980s, we're talking about the anti-dynasty bill. And even up to now, it's still not yet in effect. Why? Because, no offense to Congress, there are many political families who are against the idea of, clipping their powers at the local or the national levels. So I'm not sure where the maturity, the political maturity would happen. I think it would entail a radical overhaul in the political and economic system to ensure that those in power will be out of power, and the marginalized sectors will be the ones to govern themselves. Parang yun yung level ng political maturity na kinakailangan yata natin ngayon.
I made use of the phrase political maturity because I see the possibility of our society becoming more mature, notwithstanding that it may not be radical, but gradually. Why? I myself vote nail in tooth for the approval of the anti-dynasty law because I was chairman of the House Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms. I have my brothers and sisters in politics. I have my relatives in politics. For sure, if that anti-political dynasty bill is approved and made into law, it will affect my family. But because of that maturity, I was willing to give up everything. I was willing to give up the future of my relatives, my brothers and sisters in politics because of what I said, maturity.
Very good. Congratulations. However, at this time, magkakaroon po ng botohan doon sa Constitutional Commission sa PICC. I have it in, sabi nga, confidence that they will pass the anti-dynasty measure. The question is whether the Constituent Assembly would pass it. Sabi ko doon sa principal author, who used to be our guest here, I'm referring to Dr. Julio Tihanki, whose dissertation is political dynasties. Sabi ko, hanggang saan? Second degree of consanguinity. Pero hindi kasama yung kirida. Dahil hindi ma-establish kung anong relasyon meron yung kirida at yung lover boy. So, the downside of it, sabi niya, kung pumasa man yun, dadami ang kirida. Dahil walang blood relations.
Okay, let me just comment on it. No?
Yes, please.
Yung kirida hindi kasama. But you know, by implication, kasama siya. Because if the law prohibits legitimate relationship, with more reason that the law shall prohibit or will prohibit illegitimate relationship. It is included in under the principle of stare decisis.
Okay, so that's very good. Thank you for the clarification. Okay. Yes, please. Please
Yes.
limit the questions to our topics today.
Yes, exactly. I'm Keith Duncan, independent. Is there a way that Congress can empower the people to electronically vote leaders out of office?
Well, we have, if there is a provision for recall, then you can vote a public official out of office. Like, for example, what is happening in San Juan now. There is a pending petition in the COMELEC to recall Mayor Gia. That is an example. But perhaps the only difference is that the process is not electronics, no? It's manual. But the procedure or the process is there.
But
It's provided for under the law.
But it cannot be implemented because nobody has received the notice yet, right?
Well, it's a flaw that is being used to delay. It's dilatory in nature, no?
Okay. Do you
That's why you are paying for lawyers, no?
Do you think the system, the recall system, yung People's Initiative, would still be valid? Because if there's one district na hindi angkop o hindi tama yung figures, mababaliwala yung buong proceedings.
No, actually the recall is also matter of physical evidence. If the recall is based on number of votes, you could by analogy compare it to an election protest that the number of votes will have to be counted. That's why, regardless of the procedure, regardless of the ways, or regardless of the means, it is a remedy. It will remain to be a remedy.
All right. Thank you. Yes, please.
Sir, ayupan ko, no? Makapagtanong lang, ibang issue naman to eh. Bilang Deputy Speaker of the House, ano? Meron daw kayong plano i-codita si Speaker Alvarez at papalit daw niyo si GMA. Totoo ba yun?
Ako'y na-interview noong linggo ng isang television network. No? I was interviewed specifically me because I am the president of the National Unity Party, NUP. And there is, according to the anchor, there is a rumor that there is an ongoing attempt to dislodge Speaker Alvarez from his position. And particularly, the one who is being looked upon or being chosen to replace Speaker Alvarez is one coming from NUP. That's why I was interviewed. I said there is none. In general, as member of the House, neither do I hear nor see of any attempt to dislodge or kudeta, conduct or do any kudeta against Speaker Alvarez. Much less that there is any move within the hierarchy of the National Unity Party to attempt dislodging Speaker Alvarez from his position as Speaker of the House.
Yung tungkol naman doon sa lipat-lipat ng mga kandidat, ng mga politisya sa mga partido, makapagtanong nga ako, yung Communist Party of the Philippines ba sa atin dito sa Pilipinas, legal na ba o illegal pa rin?
The anti-subversion law has already been repealed. Therefore, if under the anti-subversion law, the Communist Party of the Philippines was considered as illegal, now it is not. But you know, Communist Party of the Philippines has not been institutionalized. That's why it is not recognized as a political party or as a legal political party. Because it is necessary that for any political party to be given juridical personality and to be recognized as a political party, it is necessary that it will have to be approved by the approving authority. Here in the Philippines, it should be the Securities and Exchange Commission in conjunction with the approval of the Commission on Election.
Kasi nainggit lang ako doon sa China eh. Yung presidente nila ron, yun yung ating leader ng Communist Party of China. Si Pangulong Digong kaya, wala kayang balak kumala sa PDP laban at lumipat sa Communist Party of the Philippines? Sa tingin nyo lang po.
Siya lang ang makakasagot ng katanungan yan.
Pwedeng magdagdag lang?
Sige nga po, dagdagan natin para mas
maikli
masaya.
lang po. Kasi po, it's true that the anti-subversion law has been repealed ever since the time of then President Fidel Ramos. But ever since that time, ilang presidente na po ang dumaan, the Communist Party is still being persecuted. And in fact, right now, under President Duterte, while it had that love-hate relationship, for lack of a better term, with the Communist Party, right now it has at least 600 on the list of alleged terrorists. And many of them are alleged members and officials of the Communist Party. So that has been the case. That's why, according to Deputy Speaker Castro, it hasn't been able to register itself and to legalize its status. Parang natatakot pa rin yung mga nasa kapangyarihan na pagka naging legal yung Communist Party, baka kung ano na yung gawin. So, linawin lang natin when we talk about progressive groups, they're not in any way affiliated with the CPP, NPA, or NDF because the likes of Bayan Muna, Anak Bayan, etc., while they've been tagged as communist fronts, they have their own legal dynamics. And they are duly registered and they are, duly recognized. And they have legal papers to prove such things, their existence. Yun lang po.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Tracy Cabero sa Hataw. Just a short and crisp. Ano ang implications nung pagpasok ni JPE sa impeachment?
Juan Ponce Enrile.
Well, the first implication there is that he is a volunteer lawyer to join or head the private prosecution. Second implication is that, to my mind, considering that he is perceived to be a good lawyer, therefore the prosecution panel will have a better standing and better ability to impeach Sereno on the basis of the evidence so far gathered in the hearing conducted by the House Committee on Justice. And number three, fearless comment, JPA or former Senator Enrile might have the opportunity to get even now with Sereno. That's why he is offering his services. Because before, he was indicted for plunder, and to his mind, this is now the time that I could get even because he himself was prosecuted during the time of Aquino.
Was he prosecuted or persecuted?
I really cannot, I cannot distinguish at this point in time whether or not he was prosecuted or persecuted.
So could it also be possible that some people may interpret that former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo is throwing the support to impeach Chief Justice Sereno for the past decisions?
Well, everything is possible. Nobody can stop this opinion because everybody can give his opinion and everybody should respect one's opinion. In the same way that others will also respect your opinion. These are opinions, and the situation now is pregnant of several opinions which may arise.
Nako, masaya ito. Pero may idea na po ba kayo kung sino-sino yung makakasamang taga-usig mula sa House of Representatives? Will there be the likes of a congressman who used to call a witness Madam Wetness?
Well, so far, wala pa akong idea kung sino. Hindi ko pangungunahan yung House Committee on Justice kung sino itong mga prosecutors or members of the prosecution panel na kanilang i-appoint. And I think the best guide here is the statement of the chairman of the House Committee on Justice.
Very well. We'd like to acknowledge, dumating na po si dating CHR Chair, dating mambabatas, Loretta and Rosales.
Si Madam. Lalong magiging masaya to.
Yung coffee ni Chair, saka tubig, pakisuyo lang. Ha? Ano reaction mo ron sa pagpasok ni JPE? Coming from a media man's point of view, painumin muna natin ng tubig at kape si Chair.
Of course, we have to look at it in terms of history because he was also involved in the previous impeachment trial, and right now he's there as a private prosecutor.
Volunteer.
Yeah, volunteer private prosecutor. So he adds experience to the process because he's presided over one around 5 or 6 years ago. But be that as it may, of course, as you correctly noted a while ago, we cannot help but see the hand of certain political factions behind throwing their support behind the prosecution of Chief Justice on leave, Maria Lourdes Sereno. So it bears close watching. And of course, there seems to be a pattern of hiring only the most experienced lawyers. If I recall correctly, Serafin Cuevas was once in the past impeachment trial of certain personalities before, President and Supreme Court Justice, and Estelito Mendoza was also there. So there seems to be a pattern of only hiring the best and the brightest, quote-unquote. Personally, I'm curious as a media man, how much will JPE be receiving? Or kung volunteer talaga, ba't siya pumayag na libre? Kung libre man talaga yung bayad. Maybe Deputy Speaker can answer if he's being paid, if volunteer private prosecutors
Your
are being
guess
paid.
is as good as my guess. I myself is not privy to any retainership agreement between the House of Representatives, and why don't we give JPA the benefit of the doubt that he is indeed a volunteer lawyer? And whatever is the consideration there, only JPA and this counterpart will know what is consideration. Because consideration could be in so many terms, no? He may have his own consideration, which does not necessarily mean money for that matter.
Okay. So, makikita naman natin sa kanyang income tax return yun, kung meron siya natanggap. Kaya nga, nasa income tax yun. Sama yun. Anyway, we'd like to officially welcome former CHR Chair, Atty. Rosales, who took time out to be with us despite the traffic from Quezon City. Welcome home to Tapatan sa Aristocrat. How do you look at the impeachment trial? Do you think we're headed for a constitutional crisis? The gentleman here said it's not. It's just a process according to the Constitution. May we have your thoughts about this, Madam?
Well, a constitutional crisis usually presumes that both separate branches of government would actually be operating in accordance with their constitutional mandate, and that they do have certain deadlock positions, and so they go on with this kind of deadlock on particular controversial issues. So that would be the assumption, that they're anchored on, a constitutional mandate. Now, in this regard, where the quo warranto petition by the Solicitor General was filed before the Korte Suprema, asking the Korte Suprema to actually adjudicate on whether or not the Chief Justice should be removed from office, does not have any constitutional mandate, as I understand. I understand that what is constitutionally provided for is the impeachment proceeding for the removal of any Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. And that is the only expressed provision in the Constitution. So I see no reason why there should be a constitutional crisis with respect to that. I think that, if anything at all, everybody should start from the premise that what is expressly provided for by the Constitution with respect to the removal of any Chief Justice of the Supreme Court is provided, is in Article 11 of the Constitution, that says that only the Philippine Congress, which is initiated in the House of Representatives and then the trial goes in the Senate, should actually be it has the sole authority to remove the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court.
Okay.
Ganun lang kaklaro sa akin yun.
Opo. Ngayon, Deputy Speaker, coming from the House of Representatives, don't you feel bad that a quo warranto petition was filed before the Supreme Court, and Mr. Solicitor General could just have waited for the time for the complaint to reach the Senate?
Well, I see no collision of remedies between quo warranto proceeding and impeachment proceeding. I do not intend to be spokesperson of the Solicitor General. Neither do I want to pretend to be spokesperson of any party in the proceeding. But nonetheless, let me talk as a lawyer.
Yes, please.
Okay. A quo warranto proceeding is a remedy under the rules of court, whereas an impeachment proceeding is a remedy under the Constitution. A quo warranto proceeding may be exercised not only by the Solicitor General, but even a private individual may file a quo warranto proceeding if he wishes to question under what authority is a public official holding an office or performing the functions of an office. Whereas an impeachment proceeding exclusively belongs to the House of Representatives. Therefore, I do not see that there is a redundancy of remedy, because first, the ground of a quo warranto proceeding is different from the ground provided required by the Constitution to impeach an impeachable officer.
Okay.
And I respect the observation of a distinguished member of the House, former Congresswoman Atty. Rosales. But I think the Constitution is silent as to the word only. The Constitution only says or only states that Congress may impeach the President, Vice President, and etc. But it does not state that only Congress. No, it does not state that this remedy of removal is limited to impeachment.
Okay.
Limited to impeachment.
So if impeachment is a political process, then what is a quo warranto petition?
A quo warranto proceeding is a legal remedy, because it is provided for under the rules of court.
So it is an administrative measure.
It's not necessarily administrative, but it is more of a special civil action. Special because it's not ordinary. Special because it intends to remove a public official on the basis of a petition which is not necessarily common to other remedies.
Yes, please.
Tama naman yan eh, no? Pero I think logic, common sense, says that precisely only impeachable officers can be impeached. Precisely because that was that. You can have your quo warranto petition to involve people who are not impeachable. And then that's it. That's the logic. But once the Constitution provides for that, mahirap tayong magdagdag ng hindi naman nakalagay sa saligang batas. And I think that precisely, Melo, is what it's all about with respect to, the climate involving the rule of law and how the rule of law can be bent this way or that way to serve specific interests.
Do you
of
see-
specific people. Oh, yes, I
Do
do.
you see specific interests?
Oh, of course, of course. Of
Okay.
course.
So,
Good
ano
heavens.
po nakikita nyo?
Oo, ang nakikita ko, kasi you can't look at the impeachment proceeding against Chief Justice Sereno as a standalone, all by itself. You have to see it in the larger picture of the political climate that's going on right now. And unfortunately, the rule of law, the rule of law which is supposed to guide us. I'm no lawyer, but that's no problem with me, no? It's never been a problem with me. As a matter of fact, thank God you're not a lawyer, Eta, sabi nga nilang ganun, so you can
Okay.
speak your mind more freely. So, the rule of law, which is supposed to guide us, has at least 4 basic universal principles, Melo. No? One of that is accountability. The principle of accountability. And that is where actually the impeachment proceeding comes in. The second principle has to do with the question of just laws
Okay.
that should be collectively promulgated and enforced. The third one, these are universal principles, would be transparency. From the lawmaking process to the execution, to the interpretation of the law, to its amendments, etc., must all be done with transparency. And the fourth universal principle, with respect to the rule of law, has to do with dispute resolutions.
Okay.
That should be accessible to every ordinary citizen, including the deputy, speaker,
Uh-huh.
and ordinary citizens like us, which
Okay.
are in the private sector.
So-
Having said that, pagka yun yung dapat gumagabay sa atin. Hindi ganun kadali. Kasi, you can always say, pwede naman siguro ito, pwede naman siguro yan. Then you go arbitrary already.
And that's the problem.
And that's your problem. And that's the problem under the climate of the current administration, where a lot of things have actually been happening that tend to distort the rule of law. Look at his boss, Speaker, what's his name? Pantaleon Alvarez. That's your boss. Pero ba, ang sinabi niya nung na-file yung quo warranto petition, anong sinabi niya? March 5 ba yun? Nung final yun? Ano yung sinabi niya? Abay, intayin na lang natin. Good God, ako yung speaker, pababayaan ko na lamang, antayin na lang natin. Abay, ipaglalaban ko yung mandato ng aking
House of Representatives.
House of Representatives,
Na
di ba?
Oliver.
Oo. Abay, sabi niya, antayin na lang natin. Kasi baka naman mauna pa sila. Kaya wala na tayong ni-impeach.
Tama,
Anong
tama.
klaseng pag-iisip yun?
Ay, hindi ko po alam. Hindi po ako psychiatrist. Pero anyway,
Let me just comment.
teka, may announcement lang po ako. I received word that Attorney Larry Gadon is on his way. Okay? He's coming. Yes, please.
The narration or the statement of my respected colleague in the House of Representatives is very logical and it sounded to be very logical and acceptable. Although when I started to discourse on my position, I said, I am not talking as a spokesman of any person, but I am talking as a lawyer. Therefore, when I said that there is no redundancy for both remedies to be simultaneously taken, no, by anyone, member of the House or not, and the impeachment on the other hand by the members of the House, I was talking as a lawyer because I am guided by the language of the rules of court and the language of the Constitution. I did not mix it up with any interest for that matter. I did not mix it up with whoever is in the administration. I did not mix it up whether Duterte is interested about it or not, or about his administration. But simply, a quo warranto proceeding does not distinguish who may be subjected to a quo warranto petition, because it only states that when there is a question as to the authority or qualification of a person to be holding a public office and exercising the function of that office, he may be subjected to a quo warranto proceeding. It does not mention whether the subject is president. It does not mention whether the subject is member of the Supreme Court or members of the House of Representatives for that matter.
Yes, very well. Yes.
Yeah. With regard to what's happening right now, yeah, with regard to these technicalities, it is clear that the powers that be are doing a rappler on Sereno. Because if you look at the quo warranto petition complemented by the impeachment proceeding that's happening right now, I agree, redundancy may not be the right word because what's happening is an overwhelming tendency to stress the point that Sereno needs to get out in whatever way possible. Because what's happening to Rappler is basically the same, right? There was a revocation of license as decided by the SEC. There is a case filed at the NBI which was withdrawn and then later on revived like a zombie. And then there are also other investigations about tax-related incidents allegedly committed by Rappler. So, what is common between Rappler and Sereno? The Solicitor General himself, because the one that filed the petition before the SEC was the Solicitor General. Who filed the quo warranto petition? Again, the Solicitor General. What we have to find out here is, did the Solicitor General act on his own or did he get orders from the higher authorities? If it is so, if it is the latter, then who are these higher authorities? Because I would seriously doubt if the Solicitor General really acted on his own regarding that point, because he is supposed to be the lawyer of the government, right? So under whose orders is he following?
Okay. Or would you say that there are so many cases that the Solicitor General need to attend to?
He has
aside
better
from
things
this?
to do. If your question is, does he have better things to do than
Yes.
to run after Rappler or to run after Sereno, who is being impeached, by the way, I guess the answer would be yes, because there are so many cases involving government-owned and controlled corporations. Kahit sa GOCCs lang, marami na ron. Even with regard to my university, the University of the Philippines, there are also pending cases that may require an expeditious handling on the part of the Solicitor General, hopefully in favor of UP. So I just cannot discuss some of the cases here right now, but there are a lot of things that he should get busy with.
And the Solicitor General is tasked to represent the state
Exactly.
in annulment cases
Exactly.
to protect the provision of the Constitution that should assure everyone that we should strengthen the family.
Yeah, and on the occasion of International Women's Day, perhaps he should have focused on that more than, going after Sereno and Rappler. Yeah.
Okay, anyway. Yes, please.
Insofar as the moving hand, the responsible in the filing of these cases, I'm going to disabuse my mind about this. Because in again trying to discuss on the remedies, I simply look at the provision of the rules of court as well as the provision of the Constitution. As a matter of fact, whoever is responsible, even assuming that there is someone who is responsible in trying to move a responsible hand to trigger the filing of this quo warranto proceeding in the Supreme Court, I think it's already immaterial insofar as the issue is concerned. Because the Supreme Court will decide the case not because there is a moving hand that pushes someone to file the action, but the Supreme Court will have to limit itself on what are the issues involved in the case filed. The Supreme Court should disabuse its mind of all other collateral issues which are not germane, germane to the issues. And the issue here is whether Sereno is performing her function as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court regularly and with not suffering from any disqualification. That's it. That's the issue.
Very good. Thank you. Mga kaibigan, dumating na po ang pinagmulan ng gulo na ang pangalan ay Attorney Larry Gadon. Okay, welcome. Pinagmulan ng gulo eh. Kung hindi sa kanya, di wala tayong pinag-uusapan ngayon. At nakapula ka pa. Galing po kayo sa Supreme Court kanina. Ano nangyari sa Supreme Court kanina? Hindi ka umabot sa flag raising. Pero tumuloy ka sa Department of Justice. What did you do at the Department of Justice?
Galing ako ng DOJ ngayon, Department of Justice. Naghain ako ng kaso laban sa mga officials ng Supreme Court about graft and corruption. Yung dalawang kaso ito, ang una kong kaso final ay yung pag-hire ng IT consultants, IT consultant services na hindi dumaan sa bidding. 6 times na nagkaroon ng kontrata na hindi dumaan sa bidding. And yung pangalawang kaso, laban doon sa technical working group na create ni Chief Justice Sereno, na nagpa-delay doon sa survivorship benefits ng 2 years. Na in fact, yung isa, nakamatayan pa. Hindi napakinabangan yung kanyang survivorship benefit. Dahil dati, noong ito ay ang humahawak pa na opisina nito, yung Office of the Court Administrator, sa loob lamang ng 2 linggo, approve at release na yung survivorship benefits. Kasi nga, nasa batas naman yun. At pangalawa, merong 271 previous cases. And talaga namang para sa kanila yon, nakalaan ng budget doon. So, walang dahilan para ito ipitin. Inipit-ipit ito ng technical working group na create ni Chief Justice Sereno at ang pagkaipit ay sobrang tagal, unreasonably delayed, no? Inordinate delay ng 2 years. Kaya ako nag-file ng demanda.
Okay. Ano na status ngayon ng reklamo mo? Dahil sa nagbotohan na sa House of Representatives, 38-2 do sa Committee on Justice, it will go to the plenary. Are you optimistic it will be approved by the plenary?
Yes. So, pinakamalas na naboto niyan, 256. Counted ko na yan eh.
Talaga?
Oo.
Okay.
Ang maswerte dyan, kung lahat umattend, aabot pa ng mga 270. Mga ganun.
Out of, mula sa 292?
Yes.
Talaga. So, ganun kalakas yung super majority?
Yeah, oo. Ganun kalakas. Makikita mo naman doon sa voting pa lang sa
Committee on Justice?
Sa Committee on Justice eh. It's 38 against 2.
Okay. So, masasabi nyo na pag nakapasa na sa plenaryo, makakarating na yan sa Senado?
Makakarating sa Senado yan. Ngayon, magkaiba naman yung co-warranto at saka yung impeachment.
Yun na nga gusto ko rin itanong sa iyo eh. Hindi ka ba sumama ang loob na mayroong co-warranto sa Supreme Court?
Hindi. Bakit ako sasama ang loob? Yung grounds na ginamit dun sa co-warranto, galing din yun sa akin.
Ganun ba?
Di ba, yung kaya naungkat, kaya naman naungkat, yung non-filing of SALN niya is because of the case that I have filed. Kung hindi ako nag-file ng case ng impeachment sa House, hindi mauungkat yun. Kaya okay lang sa akin yun. In fact, as a lawyer, I would rather that Chief Justice Sereno be removed from the co-warranto case.
Rather than the
Rather than the impeachment. You know why?
Bakit?
Because yung co-warranto case is a purely legal decision. Whereas yung impeachment is a combination of legal and political. And in fact, it could be na mas malamang yung political. And whereas kung yung co-warranto, talagang based purely on legal grounds. As a lawyer, I'd rather that our jurisprudence is enriched by legal precedents.
Meron na bang pagkakataon na co-warranto ang nasunod sa mga usapin, sa mga reklamong ganito?
Yes, yung kaso ni Villar ng Commission of Audit. Kasi inappoint pala siya na hindi tama doon sa period. So therefore, from the start na inappoint siya, void yun ab initio. So merong precedent, impeachable officer, nag-rule ang Supreme Court na void yung appointment. Kasi ang usapan dito, yung co-warranto is a case ng before ka ma-appoint. Yung violation is before ka ma-appoint. So therefore, yung appointment mo void. Whereas yung impeachment pertains to acts after you are appointed and during your duty. No? Yung impeachment, yung tungkol doon sa violation ng Arao, JDO, no? Yung nag-create. She created an office without the authority of a law. Kaya di ba nga sabi ni Majority Floor Leader Fariñas, you cannot create an office. It's only the Congress who has the power to create an office.
Okay.
Oo.
Okay. We'd like to open the floor to questions from our colleagues from the media.
Marami pa rin.
No, relax ka lang. ABS-CBN is represented here. You have questions, madam? Please? Later. O, sige. All right. Paano yun? Sabi ni Deputy Speaker, sabi ni Atty. Gadon, yung reklamo niya, basis ng co-warranto.
Well, let's take it from him na kung yung basis ay coming from him, ay talagang coming from him. But the way I understand, Atty. Gadon, is that yun nga, hindi naungkat yun o hindi lumabas yung non-filing ng SALN kung wala yung impeachment proceeding. Hindi na yung SALN na issue ay isinubo ni Larry Gadon o ni Atty. Gadon sa Solicitor General, but rather it was discovered, no, in the course of the proceeding.
Yes, please. Ayan.
Kung ganun din lang pala, bakit pa kayo magkakaroon ng co-warranto? Di, nasimulan na nung impeachment, di ba? Yun pala yung ebidensya. Yung mga charges dun sa co-warranto petition, siya rin lang pala na nanggaling dun sa impeachment. So, dinudoble-doble lamang. As pointed out, very succinctly, the Solicitor General has better things to do. Bakit papapasok ka sa isang ganito? Andyan na nga yung impeachment process. And mahirap naman nating sabihin na, hindi, mas maganda ito kasi purely legal. Samantalang ito ay combination ng legal and political. For heaven's sakes, are we questioning now the constitutional provision that involves that case, no? O syempre, abogado na naman siya, magpapaliwanag na naman siya sa abogado, no? Na technical. Syempre naman. But you know, ganito lang yan. We are human beings. I'm coming from the point of view of a human rights advocate, okay? I was also the chair of the Committee on Human Rights nung panahon natin. Di ba, kasama na tayo nung panahon natin, di ba? Matagal na tayo magkasama. And I was chair of the Committee on Human Rights then. And we always look at it in terms of human rights indicators, no? Even on procedural questions or on substantive questions, there is always the human rights dimension to ensure that whatever decisions are made, whatever rulings are made, are always to the benefit of the human person, no, that is involved.
Yes. Reaction.
Ang sa akin naman na reaksyon doon sa sinabi na meron ng impeachment, bakit co-warranto na naman ngayon, etc. Pareho naman. Ang masasabi ko lang ay strip of inconsequentials. Yung SALN ay bago lang na-discovery. Therefore, there was no way that a quo warranto proceeding could have been filed simultaneously or even before the impeachment proceeding was initiated by the House. Eh bago lang ito na-discover itong SALN na non-filing of SALN. Kaya hindi mo rin masisisi kung bakit ngayon lang ito i-final itong quo warranto because ngayon lang ito na-discover.
Okay. All
And,
right.
and may I also add
Please.
something? And as Solicitor General, it is his duty to file a quo warranto for the government. Kasi you cannot condone fraud. There was fraud. There was fraud. You cannot condone fraud. So therefore, as a duty of the Solicitor General, he has to file a case.
Okay.
Because this is different from impeachment. Ang impeachment, yung grounds doon, are the acts after she was appointed. Dito, kinu-question mo, hindi ka pala dapat na-appoint kasi wala kang qualifications, wala kang sinubmit na requirements. Magkaiba yon. Pagka kasi pinalampas yan, lalabas dito, pwede mo palang lukuhin ng gobyerno. Pwede mo palang lukuhin ng presidente, ang Office of the President. Like, for example, I'll give you an analogy. I am a lawyer. And then there is a DOH. Merong nag-open ng medical director position. And then sasabihin ko, apply ako dyan. Hindi ako doktor. Sinabi ko, hindi, doktor ako. Ito, meron akong mga ano rito, mga papeles, doktor ako. And then I was appointed as medical director even if I am not a doctor. You mean to tell me, palalampasin mo yon?
Parang narinig
Tapos, pagkatapos, ayaw nilang i-impeach. Then, there will be a situation wherein the government appoints a non-qualified person.
Okay.
Na i-appoint sa panluloko. Are we going to allow it? Of course not.
Of course. Yeah, reaction.
What I said a while ago bears repeating because while it is acknowledged that sometimes the Solicitor General is duty-bound to file cases in behalf of the government, the better question to ask is under whose orders did he file the co-warranto petition? Because I think this is important when considering the fact that Rappler, for example, has been undergoing the same level of persecution or prosecution, depending on the word that we want to use or the beliefs that we adhere to, because Rappler has been faced with the revocation of license by the Securities and Exchange Commission, and this was filed as early as December 2017 by the Solicitor General himself. So that's one thing that we also have to consider at this particular time. And of course, it's interesting to note that the filing of Salens while she was professor of UP was part of the conversation in the impeachment trial, which again begs the question as to why these things are brought up when in fact, in the impeachment trial, as you correctly noted, the alleged offenses done by Sereno should have been done during the time that she was the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. So that again bears questioning. Now, as a UP professor, what I can tell you and right now is, as far as Salens are concerned, and I hope to put it on record here, some colleges, I'm not referring to the College of Law by the way, some colleges at UP would tend to be a bit lax when it comes to the filing of Salens, especially in 2001. I know 2001 because that was the time that I started as an instructor. I'm not making excuses for the Chief Justice who was professor at that time, but such dynamics and such questions should be asked of certain institutions that would tend to be lax when it comes to the filing of Salens. Recently na lang naging stricto talaga sa filing po ng mga ito. Not making excuses, by the way, but we have to look at such context also.
Yeah, as far as I know, Philippine Normal Universities is strict on salary.
Yes,
Unlike some other colleges in UP. Okay. Yes, do you have another question, please? Related to the topic?
It's always related.
Please. We're
I'm a
not
human rights activist. We're working with Dante Jimenez and your Department of Justice. What is the current status of the impeachment process with the Chief Justice? And when do they think they're going to resolve it, either put her back in office or get her out? What's the status?
The purpose of an impeachment proceeding is just to remove and to disqualify. Meaning to say that if the Chief Justice is impeached, she will be removed as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Neither can she perform as Associate Justice of the Supreme Court. Meaning, the necessary consequence of an impeachment proceeding is to remove an impeachable officer from office. And the moment that an impeachable officer is removed from office, everything becomes, there is no proceeding. Like, for example, if she resigns during the pendency of an impeachment proceeding, the proceeding becomes moot and academic. But while in the process, as a necessary consequence, a criminal offense is discovered during the proceeding that will not preclude other government agencies from running after her criminally or civilly, as the case may be.
Yes, please.
And may I add something? Solicitor General Jose Calita acted on his own because he is authorized and he is empowered to do that. Hindi na pwedeng sabihin na sino yung nasa likod niya. Wala nasa likod niya. Ang nasa likod niya yung batas. He has the power and the authority to file it kahit walang mag-utos sa kanya.
Of course, may mga context naman prior where the president was so peeved, no? Napikon siya when Chief Justice Sereno said, please, do not bother with my judges. When President Duterte came up with his narco list, actually that in itself is questionable. You know, as president, you come out with a narco list of judges na nandoon, parang nakapili yun eh. It reminds me of those Japanese days, di ba? And again, under the restored democracy, under the rule of law, you don't do that. You don't come out with a narco list. Oh, meron akong X number of mayors, X number of governors, X number of judges, at itong mga ito, nasa narco list ko.
Pero hindi naman nalalaman kung sino yung mga
Yun
yun. Yun ang
exactly.
politiko eh. Yun ang kasi sinasabi ko, bakit barangay captain na sinasabi ni Mr. Tinio? Kung may barangay captain na involved sa droga, may mayor, may governor, may congressman.
Exactly. May congressman, di ba? Oh, diba? So, yung mga bagay na yan yung sinasabi ko na larger
Picture. Okay.
no? Na mahirap nating sabihin na, oh, he acted on his own. Well, you are entitled to your own opinion, of course, but we are also entitled to our own opinions.
Well, this is a round
We
table.
look at it's a round table, and we do respect each other's opinions all the
Yeah.
time. And I always say that we have to look at the political context, social and political context, every time we come up with, analysis of these matters.
Okay. Question from the beautiful lady from ABS.
Hello, sir. Attorney Gadon, I'm Zian Ambrosio from ABS-CBN. I wanted to ask, plus na-mention yung kanina regarding impeachment, na sigurado na kayo na mananalo nga dito sa Kongreso. Ano pong opinion nyo na pagdating naman sa Senado, di ba sinasabi may kanya-kanya silang pag-iisip na dito? Tingin nyo ba magwawagi pa rin yan?
Oo, doon sa Senado magwawagi pa rin yan. Dahil I'm sure, ito naman mga senador ay makikita nila yung mga ebidensya yung mga violations Very clear na yan buong sambayan ng Pilipino napanood na yan sa TV na talagang maraming violations na ginawa si Sereno. So I'm sure naman yung mga senador naman makikita yan. Lalo na pagka mas maganda nga ang presentation niya sa Senate Dahil kasi hindi na masyadong mahaba. Dahil ang gagawin na lang nila niyan, ipapakonfirm na lang nila doon sa witness kung ito ba sinabi mo under oath doon sa investigation sa House. Ito ba sinabi mo, ganyan. O di magko-cross-examine sila na mas mabilis kesa itong nakaraan na talagang lahat tinatawag. Ito, siguro, baka magpresenta na lang sila ng mga 6 o 8 grounds. Kaya mas mabilis. Nakakasiguro ako na pagdating sa Senado ay i-convict siya. Dahil of course, makikita nila dyan yung yung ebidensya
Follow up, sir. Meron pa ba kayo natitirang bala dyan o additional kaso na ipafile na naman? Okay.
Ngayong umaga, nag-file ako ng cases against Supreme Court officials for the issue on inordinate delay of the survivorship benefits, And yung procurement, illegal procurement of the IT consultant services na hindi dumaan sa bidding, who was paid 250,000 a month, who was paid a total of more than 10 million, na ang sweldo niya sa isang buwan ay mas malaki pa sa Presidente ng Pilipinas at mas malaki pa sa mga Associate Justices. And yet, hindi dumaan sa bidding. Hindi mo pwedeng pabayaan yun.
Thank you, sir.
Alright. Would you come up with a guess as to the number of senators who will vote in favor of the impeachment?
Only 5 will vote for the acquitting Sereno.
5 lang.
5 lang.
Okay.
Oh.
Kasama yung...
Well, you can guess naman from the alam mo naman yung Liberal Party. No, ma'am, kasi ganito yan. To us lawyers, kung matatalino mga abogado, gaya ni
Can I
Deputy
just
Speaker.
say something?
Oh.
The whole point here is we respect the proceedings and we would like to think that each and every member of the House of Representatives who voted in favor of the impeachment complaint and its probable cause acted on their own. And I don't imagine that we should be guessing na agad yan ang
I was asked for an opinion.
Kung ang sinasabi natin, lutong bakaw na pala yung trial sa Senado, abay, ano ba ang pinag-uusapan natin?
Ang lutong makalo yung kay Corona.
Hindi, well, I don't know about the Corona thing, no? Pag-usapan natin.
Kaya na mahirap sa inyo mga komunista eh. Ang gusto, pagka yung, yung side nyo, gusto nyo kayo yung nag-opinion. No, I don't give a damn. Give a shit.
Mr. Gadon,
Easy.
easy ka lang. Easy ka lang, ano? Let us respect.
I was talking I have the floor and you back in.
Oh,
I was asked for my opinion
Okay,
of what will happen.
Huwag kang mapipikon.
And you keep on batting in.
Huwag kang mapipikon. Let us
Hindi ako
all
napipikon.
smile.
Ugali nyo yung mga komunista kayo eh. Na kapag nagsasalita, nagpapaliwanag ng iba, nagbabating kayo.
Okay. Yes. Yes, please.
Wala akong pakialam.
Easy. Okay. Yes.
I think the point here is...
Nagsasalita ako eh. I have the floor. I have the mic eh.
I now have the floor.
You keep on batting me. Batting in eh.
Okay,
Look,
sige.
I now have the floor. Is it okay? Can I speak?
Sige, ikaw na una.
Okay.
Kasi ang alam ko, ako pa yung nagsasalita.
Sige. Okay.
Okay. It's like this. I think the problem here is speculation. Okay, so
I was
of course,
asked to speculate.
Okay,
The
yeah,
question
okay.
is the speculation, so I have to answer.
Larry,
Alright.
you're butting in. I'm sorry. Ako na po ang nagsasalita.
Okay.
Maybe you'll have the chance to speak later. Okay lang? Say, okay lang ha?
Okay.
So the topic, I think the topic here is speculation. So of course, it's true on one hand that Atty. Gadon rather has the right to make his opinion regarding the numbers, and when he says that there are 5 senators who would vote for acquittal, then we should just take it as it is. It is just simply speculation. Now, whether or not it's sub judice, that's for the other lawyers to decide. But as a private individual, what I would like to stress here is utmost care, being very careful when it comes to making conclusive speculations. Because when we say conclusive speculation, we refer to a situation where we are absolutely sure that this will happen. And that's where the phrase lutong Macau perhaps would come in. Now, what I detest, and I'm sorry for saying this, Larry, is the red baiting that informs Philippine society right now. We cannot just say that one is a communist just because one is interrupting a conversation, number one. And number two, we cannot just say that red baiting is acceptable in society because in the context of extrajudicial killings right now, when you get baited, you become fair game. Not just to the army of trolls, but even to the extrajudicial killing that's happening right now. So this is an appeal for sobriety, not just for Atty. Gadon, but for everybody, because this is a very serious issue, and as part of the media, our responsibility is to look at the factual and contextual accuracy. When I made a position, and when I asked, for example, whether or not Jose Calida was taking orders from the higher-ups, and he mentioned that that Solicitor General Jose Calida was acting on his own. Of course, that's his opinion, but we have to look at the contextual accuracy
of how such opinions are being made. Because we have to consider President Duterte's public pronouncements, not only against Sereno, but also against COMELEC Chair Bautista and Ombudsman Carpio Morales, that they stepped down. And what happened? Bautista stepped down, rendering the impeachment process moot and academic. So let's try to be sober about it, and we hope that this particular episode would make us question more the facts that are being stated by the speakers who are here right now.
Or
Salamat
probably,
po.
let's put it this way, not question, but ask more questions.
Sure. Yes.
All right? Deputy Speaker.
I think it's simply a choice of words. It may not be entirely speculation. But instead of speculation, let's put it as a reasonable calculation so as to distinguish it from a pure speculation. A reasonable calculation. Because we lawyers, we sometimes calculate. And this calculation is based on reasonable assessment of the situation that removes it from the ambit of speculation. That's why perhaps the proper term here is reasonable calculation.
Okay. Okay. No more questions from the floor? Let me ask former Chair Atty. Rosales. There's this headline today at the Philippine Star. It concerns human rights, international human rights advocates. It says something like this, quoting President Roddy Duterte, "Feed human rights experts to crocodiles." As former chair of CHR, how do you feel about it?
Well, that's the context I talk about. As President of the Republic of the Philippines, you do not just represent yourself, even as mayor of Davao. You are a president, you represent the citizens of the Republic who have the sovereign right over the people, they have the sovereign right, and you as president are supposed to execute precisely the sovereign will of the people.
Or implement, not execute, because execute
implement.
is also,
Okay.
could be
To
misinterpreted.
implement. And you don't say those things. Feed them to the crocodiles. That's crude. That's rude. That's coarse. And that, Attorney Larry, is the climate that I am talking about. We don't do that. The little children who listen to him, ano sasabihin nila? Pwede pa lang kahit sa buhaya ang yung mga human rights advocates na yan eh. At maniniwala sila. Hindi ba? So, responsibilidad natin as citizens, natiyakin natin, at lalo na siya, as President of the Republic. Kaya, mahirap nating sabihin, from the year 2016, ako ginagalang ko lahat yung ginagawa mo, I will not question that, no? Kasi karapatan mo yan eh. Pero siya, bilang presidente, kung yan, hindi siya nakakatulong. Malisyoso yung mga ganong klaseng salita. And you can go on and on, di ba? You will start with kung paano siya nagsalita tungkol dun sa missionary na Australiano, kung how yung hindi ko mapaniwalaan na sinabi niya noon na shoot them in the vagina, you don't have to kill them, but shoot them in the vagina. My God! Ang presidente hindi dapat nagsasalita ng ganyan. He should not even be there in the office kung magsasalita siya ng ganyan. No? So, that's the coarse language, that's the foul language that brings about this culture of impunity.
Okay. Attorney Gadon, looking forward, you're optimistic that the CJ will be impeached. Wala ka nakikita constitutional crisis?
Wala. Mismo yung mga justices pinapa-answer siya doon sa kung warrant o complaint So there's no constitutional crisis. And when the 10 justices, sitting justices of the Supreme Court, appeared in the House investigation, they were asked if in their opinion, it transgressed the powers of the Supreme Court. Sabi nila, hindi. This is actually in respect to the Constitution.
Okay.
That's why we are appearing here. So mismo sa mga bibig na mga justices ng Supreme Court, sinasabi nila, no, this is not a constitutional crisis. Because we are just following the Constitution. And may I also add something naman. Etong mga human rights activists, nasaan sila nung pinagpapapatay yung Sub-44? Nagsalita ba sila? Nasaan sila doon sa Dengbaksya? Nasaan sila nung unjustly detained si President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo? Na wala namang kasalanan, na pinahirapan ni Noynoy. Bakit hindi nila criticize si Noynoy noon? Ang mahirap kasi dito sa human rights activists, palibhasa sa mga komunista, kung tungkol sa mga komunista, magpagaling sila magsalita. Sa totoo lang.
Thank you.
Short comment on the remarks of or the language of the president. I think in order to judge someone on the basis of his statement, we should more or less judge him on his overall style of talking. President Duterte's style is really like that. But whether or not he means it or not is a different story. Whenever President Duterte speaks of something like feeding to the crocodile, can you really believe that President will feed someone to a crocodile? You can't believe that.
Well, that was what Baso said.
No. You can't really believe that. You can't really believe that. Therefore, in trying to assess the propriety or impropriety of the language of the president, you have to leave a space where his character, his style of talking should fit in.
Okay.
That's my
Very good. Very good. Professor, from an academician's point of view,
At least from a journalist's and an academician's point of view, what we need to remember is like this. If you're trying to be a president, you have to be as presidential as possible. And there is no way for a spokesperson to say that a president should be taken seriously but not literally. The main reason we're taking him seriously is because we stick to his words. And when we stick to his words, it means that we have to take things as literally as possible. Feeding a person to the crocodile or shooting an NBA rebel in the vagina. I mean, these are words that while it may sound like a hyperbole, I'm sure President Duterte knows what a hyperbole is. A hyperbole is still something that can be spoken only by ordinary people like you and me, not by elected officials, most especially the president. Because there is a tendency for people to hold on to such words. And that gives credence to the army of trolls to really stick to such words and to repeat this over and over. And that's why you hear certain statements like, dapat mamatay na yung mga komunista among the trolls online right now, and that they deserve what they're getting right now. So these are the things that we have to make sure that the level of discourse should be kept at a higher level as possible.
Okay.
I myself, last point na lang po I myself am very, very offended whenever I hear words like dapat ubusin na yung mga komunista or ganyan kayo mga komunista talaga, because as a professor of the University of the Philippines for more than 15 years now, matanda na po ako talaga.
we don't
Yeah, thank you. But the point here is, I've been subjected to red baiting and tagging as a terrorist for quite some time now. And that's why I worry that these things can be fair game to various peoples right now. Especially for the supporters of the for the Duterte administration, for the simple reason that those things are really taken quite literally, and that's the case. So
Okay.
we hope that we avoid such things from now on.
Yeah.
Salamat po.
Thank you.
Yeah, can I just say something?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
We're running short of time.
Very short time, yeah. But that's the point is, as president, he influences. No less than President Duterte himself said, 40% of all these PNP are corrupt. No? Siya na mismo nagsabi nun eh. Para sa akin, kung gano'n ang pagtingin niya, itong mga corrupt na ito, utak-pulbura din yung mga yan eh. Kung ano yung sasabihin niya, pinaniniwalaan nila. And so therefore, as president, may accountability ka. Yun yung mahalaga. So, mahirap mong sabihin, lahat yung mga pinagsasabi niya. And then, when an international, leader says that he probably needs to have psychiatric evaluation, ay yun yung nagiging resulta nun. Kasi if he did not say feed them to the crocodiles, shoot them in the vagina, kung ano pa yung pinagsasabihin niya, malamang hindi nga sasabihin na he needs psychiatric evaluation.
Okay, thank you. Final word?
Final word, I think going back to the remarks of the President or statement of the President, I think we should view it or interpret it as a matter of style. Because sometimes I have observed that the President, out of his zealousness to entertain his audience, is not premeditated on trying to think what he's going to deliver. What he delivers or what he says during ordinary events, he also applies it in some formal events which may be a wrong venue or but the remark is just a matter of style.
Okay. We need to go upstream to find out why they're falling in. And with that, we bring to a close our presentation today. Tapatan sa Aristocrat. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.